I'm going to make you a substantially better investor in just a few minutes here. Hi, my name's Keith Weinhold. I'm the host of the long-running popular investing podcast called Get Rich Education. I'm also a writer at Forbes magazine, and I'm also a writer for the Rich Dad Advisors. You are not thinking about this bill that you get in your life constantly. You're paying this bill every day of your life, but the reason that you've forgotten about it is because you've never seen a physical bill or even an electronic bill for it in any way, and that is inflation. You've seen a bill for your internet, and you've seen a water bill, and you've seen an electricity bill, but inflation is a stealthy thief. Inflation is the diminished purchasing power of your dollar over time, and the rate of inflation is typically substantially higher than what the government reports. The government has a lot of incentive to go ahead and underreport that because that's tied to payouts that they need to make for Social Security and other things. So as stock and ETF and mutual fund investors, oftentimes they look at a 10% rate of return. Maybe that's the long-term average of the S&P 500. But if you subtract out 5% inflation, you're down to a 5% real rate of return. And actually inflation is one of only 5 drags that stock, bond, and similar type of investments have. Inflation, emotion, taxes, fees, and volatility, all 5 of those drags typically erode your real rate of return to less than zero. It's exactly why we have a retirement crisis in this country today. So what's the answer? Investing in something like real estate pays you 5 ways at the same time, where over here with stocks you have 5 drags, often that you're not even aware of. In fact, if you want to make your financial advisor very uncomfortable, say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Advisor, what's my inflation-adjusted return and fee-adjusted return? They're going to get really uncomfortable. Ask them that question. Over here with real estate, you're paid 5 ways simultaneously. You typically have leveraged appreciation, cash flow from the tenant. Thirdly is loan pay down made by the tenant. The 4th way you're paid is with very generous tax benefits. And then the 5th way is something called actually an inflation hedging benefit, which I talk about on the Get Rich Education podcast. Actually, rates of return, when you know how to add up the 5 from real estate, are often 25 to 30% per year without taking any substantial or inordinate risk. So if you go ahead and have a 25% rate of return and subtract out 5% inflation, you have a 20% real rate of return here with real estate, where with stocks, your real rate of return is often less than zero. Most people just don't know how to run the numbers, and one reason is because they're not aware of that insidious thief, inflation. I hope that gives you a new perspective on how to think about investing, and I really encourage you to learn more. You can listen to me every week at the Get Rich Education podcast or subscribe right here to the Get Rich Education YouTube channel. My name's Keith Weinhold. Thanks for stopping by.
Since 2014, the powerful Get Rich Education podcast has created more passive income for people than nearly any other show in the world. This show teaches you how to earn strong returns from passive real estate investing in the best markets without losing your time being a flipper or landlord. Show host Keith Weinhold writes for both Forbes and Rich Dad Advisors and delivers a new show every week. Since 2014, there's been millions of listener downloads in 188 world nations. He has A-list show guests include top-selling personal finance author Robert Kiyosaki. Get Rich Education can be heard on every podcast platform, plus it has its own dedicated Apple and Android listener phone apps. Build wealth on the go with the Get Rich Education podcast. Sign up now at GetRichEducation.com.